What is good, YouTube? Quinn Wade coming to y'all with analysis, breakdown, tribute on Nate Tiny Archibald, one of the greatest point guards in NBA history, and did a really good job of carrying the load throughout his career, but also finding a way to make his teammates' job easier and getting them good looks throughout the game, no matter what team he played on. Of course, he was also a good scorer. He used his speed and his quickness and his ball handling to basically trick defenders into committing to stances or positions, and he was able to get by them or cross them or use angles to get to the basket and finish. He was basically impossible to stop, and a lot of it had to do with his first step. A lot of it had to do with his burst and his speed. Even after the injuries, he was still hard to stay in front of, even if he was coming right at you, because you had to backpedal, and then he would still find a way to score at the rim. Not only that, he also knew how to get all the way to the basket using that speed and quickness without having hesitation or without thinking. He also was scary in the blur in transition because you had to commit to him or his teammate. And if you didn't do that, he can even just be a break starter or just get the ball, bring it out of bounds, and get to the free throw line as well, because you either wanted to foul him or you just didn't want him to finish. So you had to foul him for that reason. And he even can take his time, wait for things to open up, get you off guard, catch you slipping defensively, and next thing you know, he's at the free throw line again, knocking down free throws. He also had to play off his teammates, and the set shot was a good way for him to be able to do it. And he also understood how to play off his teammates to get it, but he can also create it or get it himself. Not only that, he also knew how to use his passing ability to be able to find his teammates for good looks as well, and a lot of it still opened from his speed and his quickness, and he had a good IQ of understanding where his teammates like the ball, understanding how to get it to them in their spots, and not be in the way and not cross paths with them, and also gave them good looks where they knew what they wanted to do soon as they got the ball from him, and it just allowed him to rack up easy assists throughout his career. And he was actually a guy also that was very patient running a point guard position. He didn't really force or rush things, and he was quick to give the ball up early if he knew that his teammate had a look that they possibly prefer or thought that they can get from advantage. And sometimes he was so good at scoring that they had to commit to stopping him, and they allow his teammates to get open. Then he found them for easy opportunities, even if that was in transition or semi-transition. He knew how to give the ball up, and he had no chance of being stopped, because either he was scoring or his teammates was doing it over and over again because of the way he ran the offense, and he even found them for easy transition opportunities as well. Nick Archibald is recognized as one of the greatest players of all time, especially at his position. He's mainly known for winning a championship and being the first player to average 30 plus points and 10 plus assists, and he did that in one season and was the only person to actually lead the NBA in scoring and in assists in the season. And that's still one of the harder and one of the tougher things to do, and not many people has been able to do it. And he wouldn't care anyway because he has done it and was the first one to do so. But if you didn't know much about him, he was 6'1", 150 pounds. He was drafted in 1970 in the second round. He was the 19th overall pick, drafted by the Cincinnati Royals. When he played for the Cincinnati Royals, he was able to put up some really good stats, and he really played at a high level. And he was able to get 28 points a game one season, 34 points a game, and that's the season that he ended up leading the league in scoring and assists. And of course, he was able to have some more high 20-point games to middle 20-point games as well. But that was for a different organization named the Kansas City Kings, which they're all based the same. It's just the Royals got changed a little bit and they moved, and the team in the franchise was the same, but they just weren't in the same city. So it didn't really matter to him because he was still on the roster and he still had to perform at a high level. He ended up going to New York and he ended up averaging 20 points per game as well. He had a lot of seasons where he was able to average 7 assists or more than that, and he was able to do that also for New York. He did miss the 1977-78 season due to injury, He bounced back with the Celtics and helped them ultimately win a championship. He was in his 30s at that point, didn't have any dominant seasons when it comes to scoring the ball, but he did facilitate real well. He did add tempo, he did add knowledge that they needed to succeed, and he stayed with Boston for a couple seasons, 5 to be exact, before he ended his career in Milwaukee at age 35. Back then, you was retiring earlier than you see players retire now, and that was normal. Not only that, he won that championship in 1981. He said it himself. He didn't think he was going to win the title. He just felt like they had a good shot and a good chance. When you have talent that's young and you don't really know how they're going to perform against the best players, sometimes it do get in your head a little bit, but they was able to get it done. Not only that, he was a 6-time NBA All-Star in 1973, 1975, 1976, and 1980 through 1982. He was an NBA All-Star MVP in 1981, 3-time All-NBA First Team in 1973, 1975, and 1976. He also was an All-NBA Second Team player twice, 1972 and 1981 is where he got it done. And for people that don't know, he won that scoring champion in 1973 while also being the assist leader that same year, which was 1973. And he was retired by the Sacramento Kings. He is one of the greatest to ever do it, and they gave him a hard load to carry, especially the fact that he was 6'1", and he was tiny, and that's what they call him, tiny. But he also was getting beat up and toe up by the bigs. They didn't want him in that paint, so they were trying to be physical. They were trying to put some fear in him, but he did not back down, and he did not get scared, and that's why people respected him so much, because he got back up and was ready to go back to war with his teammates. Even though they didn't win a lot or have a lot of success, it's good to see him find some success and still be one of the best players later in his career. And then he also was first team All WAC in 1970, and his number 14 jersey was retired by UTEP Miners. He did only score 16,000 points, and he averaged 18.8 points per game. That's how he got it done. He also had over 6,000 assists because he averaged 7.4. That's a tough thing to do, but he was able to accomplish it. And then he also averaged over 2.3 rebounds and finished with over 2,000 rebounds for his career, although he was a point guard. And like I said, the guy put on a show. He was hard to stay in front of. He was hard to predict. He was hard to contain as a guard. And he shot pretty efficient from the field, finished 46% from the field as a point guard, even after the Achilles injury that he suffered. Showing you that they still had trouble guarding him because he was still shooting in the mid to high 40s from the field, because he was just that good at scoring. He just knew how to get the job done his way, and he also knew how to make his teammates fit. He always wasn't this aggressive guy that was only looking for his shot. And that's why he was able to lead the NBA in assists, because he knew when to pass, he knew when to score, and he knew how to find his teammates whenever they needed the ball and how they needed the ball as well. And that's what make a floor general great and special. And obviously he was definitely one of them. And he is a guy that did play a lot of seasons where he finished with 80 games or more. He had 2 seasons where he played the full 82. So it just showed you that he was able to take the physicalness as a player, and as get beat up a little bit as well. But that didn't stop him from playing 40 minutes, multiple seasons. One season he played 46 minutes, which is just insane. And then he also had one season where he did get the scoring title, but he ended up shooting 26 field goals a game. He also had other seasons where he shot 20 as well. And even though he was the smallest guy on the court a lot of times, he still was shooting the ball fairly well for his position and at the time that he was playing. And even if you look at his efficiency compared to the players now, he's still getting it done. He still played at a high level regardless of what era he would have played in. And he played in a more physical area, some would say, but they still couldn't guard him. They couldn't stay in front of him. They couldn't slow him down. And he basically did it and got what he wanted on the offensive end most of the time. And on top of that, he was a decent free throw shooter. He finished 81% for his career. So even if you was fouling him, he was still knocking down them throws. He had one season where he averaged 10.8 free throw attempts a game. And then in his season where he averaged 34 points and got the scoring title, he averaged 9.8 free throw attempts per game. And he was also able to shoot 84%. Not only that, um, those things didn't matter as much, just like turnovers. When he got older, turnovers was more of a stat that people kept up with, and he had a lot of turnovers. Even when he got older, you didn't really know as much when he was playing earlier in his career because they wasn't keeping up with those things. But he still, when you look at his career, you basically look at it and say he did everything you can do. You know, the last thing he had to do is prove that he can win. The last thing he had to prove is, can he be a champion? You know, he wasn't the best version of himself. He wasn't the greatest player ever at that point or throughout his career, but he was able to carry the load. He was able to dominate. He was able to distribute the ball at a high level. And then he was able to accept his role, a lesser role, and be wonderful and play a beautiful way to the point where he fit and made his teammates happy while also getting his and looking good along the way. And he has some concerns, he has some doubts in his game, like all of us do sometimes throughout our lives. But he still was able to get that last thing that he never did in the NBA, which is being a champion. So gotta be happy that he did it. I'm actually happy too because I'm a Celtics fan. So it's good to do him, and it's good to look back at his career. It's good to tell his career from my perspective and how I feel about it. And you guys want to hear it and listen to it anyway. And I love the guy. I love what he was able to do. I love the way he played, and I'm happy that he was able to bring us another championship back in the day. This is before I was even born. So obviously it didn't matter as much. I had to go back and do my research and tell y'all what I know and what I seen and just break it down for y'all, but also tell y'all how great of a player he was at 6'1". I mean, one of the best players in the league without a doubt. And for him to play at the level that he played at and was able to accomplish what he was able to accomplish, especially before the ACL tear, it's just crazy to see it. You know, he was very, very little, but he had a heart of a lion and he played his guts out. And that just lets you know that he really cared about winning and he really did whatever he could to try to influence it. And that's what all the great ones do. Whether they got a great team or not, they're going to go out there and leave it all on the floor and do whatever they can to not lose. And that's what you want to see. That's what you respect the most as fans, as an organization, and even as players. When I'm out there, I want to be able to give my best and give my all and do whatever I can to help us win at the highest level. And that's why I'm happy he was able to get that championship before his career was over. He deserved it. He needed it. And he wanted it, and it's good to see him, you know, as a top 50 player by the end when his career was over, and we still was able to remember him a little bit because he got re-shown again by being on the 75th anniversary team as well. Other than that, comment, like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell to get the analysis when it first comes out. Y'all stay blessed up, y'all stay good, peace, and I'll see y'all hopefully later today or tomorrow with more analysis. Other than that, y'all stay blessed, man. Peace.